Hey guys, let's go over the leadership of China. Let's show you how they're organized and perhaps maybe the differences between China and, say, the USA or something like that. So, it looks like there's two tracks in this overall scheme of things. So, at the top levels of leadership, you have like a political role and an administrative role for the two top positions, and the vice positions right below the two top positions, again, is the political and the administrative role. So kind of look at it as that, and then the minor stuff below that. And then we'll get into the similarities between the Communist Party of China and the American government, which is not much different. So what they call the president, Xi Jinping, he's more of the political leader of the country, more on the politics level, the ideological sort of thing. It's kind of sort of the gist I get. I'm not an expert on China, but I need to make sure we all have a way of thinking about how they approach the world. He does not have, he's supposed to be more of a ceremonial position, not exactly much hard power, whereas the premier is supposed to have more hard power. He runs the administration, the bureaucracies, drives, economic policies, makes shit happen, right? That's kind of what the premier does, and that's Li Keqiang. Now, what I want to make sure I bring to your attention as you're going through, as we're going through looking at these guys, is what is their primary study in school, and what is some of their main experiences that just pop out at us, so like say, whoa, interesting. So one thing you're going to find interesting is that the top leadership of China, let's say this is the top leadership. We're not talking about secret societies here yet, because I don't know China's background. We're going to see a theme of technical people, like engineering, and we're going to see a theme of economics. Right? Whereas in the U.S., traditionally, our leadership has been lawyers. Some military, but mainly lawyers in the USA. So you notice the president has a degree in chemical engineering. However, the strange thing was his father was a propaganda chief. He served time as a ditch digger. A lot of manual labor. You're going to see that theme in the Chinese leadership. A lot of these guys have spent at least a year doing hardcore manual labor. Another theme you'll find is anti-corruption in some of these guys. Interesting, his wife is a folk singer. The premier, again, this is the guy that's responsible for getting things done in the administrative level. He has a background in law and economics. He actually has a PhD in economics. He's very focused on economic decision-making and numbers. He's a hardcore data analyst and a hardcore statistician type guy. So he's going to dig into the numbers. He's supposedly also developed a system for distinguishing between good data and bad data, essentially bullshit that is being reported to him and the reality of what actually is going on. So he developed something there, which is quite interesting when I was reading up on this guy. His wife is also a professor of economics. So this whole family is a bunch of numbers guys. So these are hardcore mathematics and money guys, that his whole family. Whereas the president is kind of a mixed bag. Engineering, propaganda, and his wife is a musician, singer type artist. Interesting, quite interesting. Let's go to the vice position. So there's the president. We're going to talk about the vice president and the premier and the vice premier. So right here, these two little things I put here, you see the vice premier and the vice president. Vice premier Han Sheng, economist. All right. Look at the vice president, finance, and anti-corruption. So the president and the vice president are focused on anti-corruption as one of their themes. But you notice premier, economist, vice president, finance, premier, economics. Right? So 3 out of 4 on the top are focused on finance and economics. This guy right here, the president, technical background. Another theme you notice on the vice level, the vice premier, vice president, these guys have been mayors of cities, major cities. So the vice premier, Han Xing, was the mayor of Shanghai, and the vice president, Wang Qishan, was the mayor of Beijing. So on the vice level of the Chinese leadership, you see mayors, guys who are skilled at deploying things on a municipal, large city level, getting shit done. Right? And let's go down to the lower level. So the Congress, some of the stuff I don't know what the titles mean, but we're just going to go through the names that are posted up there and see what their background is and what are the themes we're seeing in the Chinese leadership. So the Congress chairman, Li Shanshou, his alma mater is the Harbin Institute of Technology, technical guy, important relationships with Russia and Hong Kong, so he's kind of a diplomat. I think this is incorrect, so let me erase this. I was supposed to erase that. That goes in the next slot, which is already there. So this guy, the Congress chairman, is a technical guy, and he's interested in international relations with a large country, Russia, with a lot of natural resources, and Hong Kong, the nearest Chinese province that speaks English. Hong Kong is a major cultural force in the world. Bruce Lee, a lot of major people that you think of as Chinese are actually from Hong Kong. Most Chinese restaurants in the U.S. are run by people from Hong Kong or with Hong Kong ancestry. So Hong Kong is a major force in the world, even though it's much smaller than, say, China. But it was the British outpost in China, British colony, I guess you might call it, or outpost. And they were under British rule until 1996. So that's why they're a major force in the world. They speak English, or they're supposed to know a little bit of English, and they have a tradition of British law, British common law, which is the official language of the world at this point, because the United States is the major power in the world and English is the international language. Well, it would make sense that British common law and British legal procedures in English language would be a major force if a country or a country would have a lot of that background to use that skill set, put it that way. Conference chairman, Wang Yang, University of Science and Technology, technical guys, right? He was one of the more liberal guys, they would call it, and liberal doesn't mean degenerate in a sense. Liberal means freedom, free economics, free enterprise type. Supposedly he's a very good jokester on the international stage. Good sense of humor. Secretariat, Wang Huning. This guy is a scholar theorist. He knows He studied French. He's kind of an ideological architect, and he's a diplomat type. People refer to him as a Kissinger. Okay. But anyway, it looks like he's a diplomat, scholar, kind of a Renaissance man, it seems like. This is our Renaissance man, which probably drew him to French, because French culture is Renaissance, well-rounded sort of thing. Civilization is take a piece of everything and put it together, and yeah, know a little bit about everything. The inspection guy, Xiao Liji, he was a philosophy major, and he actually taught in the university, I'm guessing philosophy. And he had a stint at a metal company, which suggests he might have another technical background here. So you see two themes emerging here, two major themes emerging as a fist. Say, the Chinese consider technology, engineering, and technical stuff very, very important. And number two, they consider economic policies and finance extremely important. Top two priorities. Um, that's a theme you see here. The second most theme you see is anti-corruption. So the president and the vice president are very focused on anti-corruption. And then there's a theme of manual labor here too. I didn't write it down on the board, but when you look into their biographies, most of these guys have a theme of participating in manual labor. Not all of them, obviously, but most of them, I think, have a theme of manual labor. So these guys know how to put stuff together, tear it apart, work with their hands, build little objects, big objects, factories or whatever, getting stuff done on the manual level, digging ditches. I see that theme a lot in the Chinese leadership. So yeah, those are the basic themes we're seeing. So we must always, when dealing with China, consider that technical and economic / finance is the top priority to these dudes. That's what they think is important, and the second most important thing appears to be anti-corruption. Anti-corruption. So that's the major theme of the Chinese leadership.